Today we're going to do an overview of the DJI Go4 app, and we're going to start in the upper left-hand corner and hit the letters that say DJI, which will take us to this main screen. We can then click on the upper right-hand side and we can see the Academy and take lessons, flight records, or find my drone, all under the Equipment tab at the lower point of the iPhone. There's also a photo editor that you can select, as well as Sky Pixel, and information about yourself and the account you've logged in with. But we'll go back to equipment and we'll go inside the app itself by hitting Go Fly. And we should have this pop up. The first thing we'll do is hit the Ready to Go GPS green bar at the top, and it'll let this menu on the aircraft status go down. You see the overall status. You see you're in the flight mode of GPS, which is also on the front. Your max flight altitude. If you've allowed max flight distance, you might have that there. Your compass, your IMU, your ESC status, your vision sensor status, and you're going to look for normal. Your remote control, mode 2 is the common one used in the United States. Your remote control battery, your channel, whether there's interference. If you want to customize any of the bottom buttons on the remote, it'll also let you know your aircraft battery, which is at 100%. Your aircraft battery temperature, which can be important, your gimbal status, and the status of your SD card as well. Along the top layer, if we were to hit buttons, we're going to go to the main menu, so we'll come back to that. But you'll notice when we close this out, they'll tell you if you're GPS, ADI, or Sport mode, especially when using the Phantom. It tells us we have 14 satellites. The circle with the three bars after it is obstacle avoidance is on. The remote control strength. The HD signal strength, letting us know we're on 5.8 gigahertz. We can be either 2.4 or 5.8. Your battery life at 100%. And I also like to have the battery voltage on, and I turn that on, and I'll show you that in a minute. Right on this front screen here, I have lines down mine with some radar on, but I also have buttons for the various camera things. It lets me know that I'm taking JPEG. It lets me know whether I'm doing manual shutters or automatic shutters. And I can push those buttons and change things depending on my knowledge and ability in photography. If I hit the takeoff button on the left-hand side above right below the DJI letters, I will get a chance to precisely record my takeoff point, set a home point. I can slide to take off. I can also push the sticks into the center and take off. I can hit the button that lets me know the number of flight, automatic flight, autonomous flight. So I have normal, I can draw, I could gesture the drone, active track, tap to fly somewhere. I can set up like a tripod. I can make a terrain follow and a point of interest. I can even reset it onto the beginner mode, which I like to do with students who are the first time flying a drone. And that's right there on your left-hand side of your main screen, always available to you in the one that looks like a remote control. Down below where it's just changed, you'll see here I can turn on a map and change it so I could know the precise location. I have the Wi-Fi turned off for the demonstration, but I can see if there's any kind of warnings for any kind of power plants or airspace warnings. I can set the home point either to the home position or to where the drone is. I can set it to different maps, and if I had the Wi-Fi on, you would be able to see the satellite image. And I'm right outside the college there, which you can see in the lower left-hand corner. We're going to head ahead and bring that back up. So we have the telemetry showing the image from the camera and lifting the drone a little bit, moving it around. You can see that the distance starts to change. I really haven't gone very high. I flew off a table here, so the height hasn't changed. But you can see then that it will record distance from the remote control, height of the drone from point of takeoff, the horizontal speed, your vertical speed, and your other vertical per second speed there as well. In the upper right, if we don't do the three ellipses in the upper right-hand corner, we can start to see that you have numerous controls over your camera on the right-hand side. So while it's white, that means it'll take a photograph, but you can hit that button for playback at the bottom right-hand corner. It's not going to work at this particular moment, so I'm going to go back to the perfect screen, but that's the lower right that has a play. Then you have numerous additional camera for auto You got your aperture, your shutter, your manual there as well, and you can start to kind of move things around. Most people, when they first start, I recommend auto, unless you have some degree of information about photography, and you take the class at Warren and you'll get that. You have settings here. You can set up the histogram. You can lock the gimbal when capturing. You can do things for overexposed. You can put video captions in, center points, the grid like I have on there. So you have a lot of things in this kind of setup menu in the camera. You can also change your photo, your image size, your image format from JPEG to RAW. You can change the white balance. You can change your style. You can change your color. You have a lot of functionality there with photography. Now we're going to switch back and forth. When it's white, it's going to take a photograph like you heard. And when it's red, it's going to take video. And you can switch those back and forth with the camera video circle there that's moving around on your screen. Now in the upper right hand corner, this is where we're most interested. You can go into main controller settings, and I'm touching on the one that looks like a drone. So here I can set up remote identification. That's coming in. So that you'll have this availability as remote ID becomes part of our vernacular. You can also set up basic settings like the home point. You can set up for multiple flight modes, so you can have positioning mode, which is GPS, sport mode, where you're going to get the maximum speed, and what DJI calls the attitude mode, which will still give you some obstacle avoidance and vision positioning. But really, you're flying without GPS at that point. And that's where I like to start our students, and you started there if you're in our program, with what we do. We can also set the return to home altitude. Here I have it set at 50 meters, and it'll give you the number of feet. And when it enters a return to home mode, the aircraft descends to the preset location and comes down. You can put back on the beginner mode. Here's where you would set your max flight altitude. And you can go into your advanced settings here. I do not recommend going into these settings until you've become a very experienced pilot. What you'll change here would really only make sense for you if you're at your maximum ability. But you have your sensitivity for attitude, brake, yaw movement, and you can play with those as well. You have your gain settings for pitch, roll, yaw, and vertical. Right now they're set at the industry standard or factory setting. You can go into your sensors, and here you're going to go into your inertial measurement unit or your compass, and you'd look for it. So AACC1 is only good. I would probably redo my IMU before flying this drone, and you see how you would calibrate it here. I'm not going to go through this because it takes several minutes, but you can also calibrate your compass. Right now the compass 1 and compass 2 are good, but I'll show you how this kind of works, and we can watch the drone kind of go around in a circle a little bit. But you would hit the button to calibrate compass. You would press start. And at this point, it's going to give you your handy dandy horizontal, and you'll start to see the drone. Let me pick it up off the table, and I'll spin around in a circle. It will tell me to turn it sideways. You'll see me turn it sideways. I will continue to go in, and the compass calibration will be complete. And I can set the drone back down. And now I have a completely calibrated compass, a relatively easy thing to do. So we're back into the compass. We'll go back into the general settings, back into that, the advanced, and we'll go down into the one with the drone again. Return to home. If we lose the remote control signal for 3 seconds, this will automatically return to home. That's the setting that I prefer. But you would probably set your own setting. You can do landing or hover, but we suggest to our students always return to home if the signal between the remote control and the drone is lost for your aircraft. You can see here, stop motor method. If you were experiencing a flyaway and had a safe moment, you might want to shut your motor down and let it fall. You can set your navigation settings. So you can do your obstacle avoidance, your horizontal obstacle avoidance. You can decide whether you'll let the drone fly backward or not. And this is all in the button that is now blue, which is the obstacle avoidance. You can enable obstacle avoidance in active track. You can display the radar like I have. You can go in the advanced settings with vision positioning, landing protection. So if you were over water, it would not land. But be aware, tall grass often has the same impact. You can do precision landing. Return to home obstacle check can be on. return to home obstacle avoidance can be on. There are reasons why people turn things on and off, and that again is a matter of often preference for what people like. Next, we're going to go to the button as we move our way back. You can see all the obstacle avoidance options that you have in the DJI Go4, which makes this a relatively safe and effective drone. So you can have obstacle avoidance, return to home, forward, backward, and depending on the drone you get, more or less. You can, now that we're to remote control, you'll see that went blue. You can calibrate it. You can set the stick mode. Mode 2, again, is the American standard. You can customize your bottom buttons. Right now I have a camera forward and down, and gimbal follow FPV mode. You can link the remote controller to another drone or another aircraft if you like, and that is entirely up to you. But normally people stick with the remote control that they have. And then there's some advanced settings in the HD area for the channel. Do we want it auto? What frequency do we want it? Well, we can customize it to 1, or we can set it to auto, where it'll go back and forth between the 5.8 and the 2.4 gigahertz. It'll let you know where on the band in that gigahertz the current channel is, whether it's stable, unstable. You can get simultaneous image output to the app, display the output. You can use metrics on the output, and you can look at that. If we go into the batteries, you'll see the voltage, and I always like to keep an eye on the voltage. Keeps the temperature in here. You can set your critically low battery warning, which we have set at 15% standard. Low battery warning, 30%. Return to home. And important thing is time to discharge. When you pull your intelligent battery out of your DJI drone, do you want it to automatically discharge in 5 days, 1 day? What would you like? There's where I put the voltage on the main screen. This will tell me about the battery, its serial number, how many times it's been charged, what the status is, and give me some more information about batteries here. Very handy part of the DJI. Now we go down to the camera. We have the gimbal mode. It's set to follow. It can also be on first-person view. Here's some advanced settings. There can be various configuration, pitch speed, degrees, smoothness, and if you touch this and you don't like what you do, you can reset. You can also calibrate the gimbal, and I suggest doing this periodically. In the bottom, advanced menus, general settings, you can set it to Imperial, which I prefer. You can set the gimbal control. You can go into live broadcast platforms. We've done this as well, where you can broadcast live right from your drone on YouTube or another one. You can show your flight route. You can calibrate your map to China. Do not recommend that. You can cache the map in the background. You can clear your flight route. You can unlock your drone if you're going to fly in restricted airspace. You'll need to learn how to do that. It's in a more advanced course. You can record audio and video. You can record just the video. If you like, without audio, you can have maximum cache capacity. You can clear the cache after your flights automatically, or you can come back and hit the button here as well. And it'll give you a sense in this advanced area of any warnings you've had. So we'll pick the one I had on 8/31. Can't remember what it is. There was some compass interference that occurred that day. Usually the obstacle avoidance is when I'm training students. So you can look back at all the warnings. So if a student took the drone, I can look and see if there was anything. Turning off the aircraft, you'll see that it'll tell you when it's disconnected. So you'll know that your remote control and your aircraft are no longer connected. Your obstacle avoidance, you'll see, went red. And that's our message for today. That's DJI Go4 in a nutshell, rather quickly. We'll practice and you'll have a quiz on this. Look forward to seeing you in future videos.